members, the CDC and New Jersey Health Department is recommending individuals wear face coverings indoors and in public spaces. If possible, please try to social distance. The next televised regular council meeting will take place on Tuesday, May 9th at 6:30 p.m. The public session of that meeting will begin at 8 p.m. Council met in closed session earlier this evening to discuss the following items: DPW update, advisory boards, cannabis, legal issues and opinions regarding items on the open session agenda, litigation updates, and Oprah. And before we move on to the next item on the agenda, I'd like to thank all of our firefighters at our Teaneck Fire Department for the outstanding work they did last week at the fire in Overpeck. And I'd also like to thank all of the other fire departments who came to Teaneck to help us, as well as all of our police officers and paramedics in town and our neighboring towns, because they all did an incredible job. Our next order of business, Mr. Clerk, is a proclamation for Mental Health Awareness Month. I won't read the whole thing. I'll just read the end. It reads, whereas the Township of Teaneck has declared themselves as a stigma-free zone and will continue to support the stigma-free initiative, whereas stigma-free zones aim to inspire public trust and open dialogue about stigma, raise awareness of the diseases of mental illness, and create a culture wherein residents who have the diseases of mental illness feel free to seek treatment for the disease without fear of stigma, and whereas local resources are available to treat the disease of mental illness, so no one resident needs to suffer alone or feel hopeless. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Township of Teaneck recognizes May as Mental Health Awareness Month and continues to support the efforts of the County of Bergen in continuing to be a stigma-free zone. The next order of business is work session items, miscellaneous. Does anyone on council have anything for miscellaneous? No? Moving on. The next order of business is old business. And Mr. Manager, I placed this on the agenda just so we can have an update on the process. And if not mistaken, the RFQs were opened this past Friday at 1 p.m. and 16 firms applied for legal and 5 firms applied for engineering. And since the Personnel Subcommittee is meeting tomorrow to interview more applicants for our advisory boards, the subcommittee will also be reviewing the RFQ paperwork that was submitted by all of the firms who applied. And then the subcommittee will be making recommendations on which firms to call in for interviews. But Mr. Manager, is there anything else we should know or do in terms of procedure as we move forward with this process?
This evening, I'm going to provide council with a Google Drive link that will have all the engineering proposals in their entirety. And tomorrow morning, I will have the same for you for all the legal services as well. So you'll have the entire packets that our purchasing agent received. Again, as you mentioned, the 1 o'clock deadline for submissions was this past Friday. I provided council with a list of 16 legal firms that applied and 5 engineering firms that applied for those positions.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Does anyone on council have any questions for the manager about this? No? Okay, moving on. The next order of business is new business. Deputy Mayor G.
Thank you, Mayor Pagan. I would like to nominate 10 candidates for advisory board positions, and I'd ask to Mr. Clerk to read those names into the record.
With pleasure, Deputy Mayor G. So we have for our Hackensack River Greenway Advisory Board, we have Josh Rockland and Janice Dorman. For our Pride Awareness Advisory Board, we have Diana Valadares and Deborah Gusting. And for our Social Services Advisory Board, we have Lawrence Bernard. For our Patriotic Observance Advisory Board, we have Scott Pleasance, John McGilchrist, and Roosevelt Sills. And for Stigma Free Advisory Board, we have Adrian Williams and Nancy Cochran.
Procedurally, Mr. Clerk, can you just tell us what we have to do and what will happen at the next meeting?
Yes, indeed, Mayor. To make it clear, I was not nominating these folks. This was Deputy Mayor G. I was just sharing these notes that I have.
And is there a second?
Second.
Do we have to take a roll call vote?
You could just do a simple all in favor.
All those in favor, please say aye.
We'll see a resolution next meeting.
Aye.
Thank
Cool.
you, Deputy
See you
Mayor
resolution
G. And I
next
think we
meeting.
have
Thank you,
something,
Deputy
Councilwoman Organ.
Yeah, I didn't think to council list this, and I apologize. It sneaks up on me every year after Passover. But tonight ends Yom HaShoah. It's the observance of the Holocaust Memorial Remembrance Day. And I just wanted to mention right now there is a ceremony going on at Bergenfield High School that we can't be on. I do want to council list something about the rise in anti-Semitism going on, and I wanted to bring it to you before I do, because I I missed the boat on this meeting. We had a congressional hearing right here about anti-Semitism. It's on the rise, New York, New Jersey, and in Israel. And I'd like us to think of something as a council to do, some kind of council speech. Maybe I'll bring up a proposal for the next meeting, but just to put it out there, I feel like it's something that needs to be recognized again, and we haven't done that in a while.
And not to interrupt, the League of Municipalities actually circulated a few weeks ago a proclamation saying what you just said. If you want, I could dig that up and share it with you and others.
Would be
It's
great.
the first step.
I'd like something else also. I feel like a bigger action, we're having a stigma-free walk this year, and we're having a Pride Advisory Board walk this year, and all these things I think are wonderful. And I think this is something that we need to recognize in some way. So
You absolutely have
I'd
my
like to
support on
work
that,
with you on
Councilwoman Goldberg.
I'd just like to work with Councilwoman Organ on that.
Second that.
Everybody's cool? Thank you, Councilwoman, for bringing that up. Does anyone else want to bring anything up under new business? No? Okay, moving on. Next order of business is communications. Does anyone on council have anything for communications? No? Moving on, the next order of business is committee reports by council liaisons. Do we have any committee reports? No? Moving on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councilwoman
Just
Belcher.
an update, just a couple things. The stigma free advisory board is planning quite a few awareness opportunities and training going forward in the spring. Additionally, there is the Chamber of Commerce is really ramping up to do some events that are coming up soon. They're definitely posted on their website. Also, we're working on a really nice brochure that is going to really, pretty much showcase what they're doing. So I think these are good things. And lastly, Historic Preservation Advisory Board is working on a very nice interactive map that is going to be going live really soon. And I'd like to request that we have a presentation to the council in the near future when they're ready. Thank you.
I'm good with that. Is everybody else good with that?
Sounds good.
Thank you, Councilwoman, for bringing it to our attention. Next order of business is council listed items, dementia-friendly community initiative. I placed this on the agenda because Teaneck has been an age-friendly community for a number of years, and last year we made Teaneck a veterans-friendly community with the help of our local veterans. So I'd like us to try to make Teaneck a dementia-friendly community as well, if possible. Members of this council have already discussed pursuing this amongst ourselves, but I think it's important that we let our residents know that we are pursuing this initiative as well. And for those who don't know much about the dementia-friendly program yet, its goals include increasing awareness and understanding of dementia and of people living with dementia, increasing awareness and understanding of brain health and risk reduction, collaborating with public, private, nonprofit, and healthcare sectors to better serve people living with dementia and their caretakers, and improving the physical environment of public places and spaces like parks, for example, so that they are more dementia friendly. And these are all goals we on council can support and get behind. The lead agency spearheading this across the county is the county's Division of Senior Services and the Act Now Foundation's Dementia Resource Center. And I have already reached out to them to let them know that Teaneck is interested in pursuing this. But Mr. Manager, can you please tell us a little bit about the action team you put together to help us become a dementia-friendly community as we move forward, sir?
Sure. I'm gonna have the health department work on this initiative with my office and also with the clerk's office so that we certainly promote stigma-free, and we'll have some activities set up in town as well. And I'll work with council members that want to participate in this as well. So we have a team together.
All right, great. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilwoman,
No, I would just love to work on dementia friendly.
anybody else want to comment on this?
I think it's a great idea. Thank you for bringing it to us.
All right, thank you, everybody. Moving forward, Mr. Manager, Township Manager's report. The floor is yours, sir.
Sure, thank you. Not a big report tonight, but again, I just want to say that I want to personally thank the fire chief. I was there at the fire scene for almost 5 hours that night. He really did. And I'm very proud of him. I know it's his quote job, but he went above and beyond to coordinate 15 different municipalities responding to Teaneck. That's a heavy, it's a heavy lift to try to coordinate that. And he did such a fantastic job coordinating, keeping us calm, keeping us cool. He also coordinated an overhead helicopter that provided a live stream so that we could identify the hot spots as they kicked up during the night. And again, everyone just did a fantastic job. And also the state forestry service came in and helped us out with doing some controlled burns later in the night to remove the remaining brush that would ignite. So everything worked together. Yeah, again, I'm proud of their work, proud of his leadership, and Teaneck residents should feel comfortable and secure that, again, you have an excellent fire department. So that being said, on Friday, I just want to let everyone know that Ramadan ceremony is going to take place at the Teaneck Armory. They're anticipating literally thousands of guests on Friday between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. So I'll be putting some more information out, as well as the police department, for people to try to avoid that area this Friday from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's at the Armory. I mentioned this at the last meeting. There's going to be a senior health and resource fair, and that's sponsored by Holy Name and our Teaneck Health Department. That takes place on Wednesday, April 26th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Rhoda Center. This is a fantastic event. Various health screenings to include blood pressure, BMI, weight, stroke, risk assessments, diabetes risk assessments, fall risk assessments, cancer support, and insurance counseling. There's going to be representatives from various community resources on hand that's going to provide valuable information to our residents and seniors. I encourage everyone that can make it, please attend free of charge. We presented TBO and Teaneck Southern Little League with their new AED devices. Teaneck Southern we did on Saturday. TBO we did last night. We have 3 remaining units, brand new units are going to be housed at fire headquarters. We have a policy in place. We notified Recreation and PPRAB to notify their sports organizations. So any organization that needs an AED for an event, they can sign that out at fire headquarters. I want to just personally thank everyone that attended the Lieutenant Fred Green street renaming. It was a wonderful event for just an incredible person. I had the opportunity of working with Lieutenant Green for 4 years, but I've known him most of my life, and a person so well deserving of that recognition. DPW finished some landscaping work on Beverly Road where that box culvert was put in. I believe they put in about a dozen shrubs and to beautify the area there. It looked pretty good. I took a look at it today. The township submitted our 2023 ANJAC Open Space Grant for the Environmental Commission. If awarded, what we're going to use that money for is the planting of native plant species along the Hackensack River Greenway, at the Tune Park Playground, and in the Mary Topolsky Park. The township's bicycle auction is going to take place on May 19th. We have about 30 bicycles, not as many as last year, but we have 30 bicycles that will be auctioned off, and that will take place in a municipal parking lot. We have, again, as another reminder, 2 community revaluation forums, public revaluation forums taking place on April 27th and May 25th from 7 to 9 p.m. and MP1 at the Rhoda Center. Please visit our website for additional information. Again, that's on April 27th and May 25th from 7 to 9 p.m. and MP1. And we have a lot of information about the revaluation process on our website. I put out a nixle today. I probably will put out a robocall before the April 27th meeting, reminding residents that wish to attend where to go and the time it's taking place. Anyone that does have any questions about the revaluation process can call our tax assessor at the 837-1600 number, extension 1401. His name is James Ty. The Voti Park Band Shell is coming along. If anyone's taking a ride past the park, you'll see it's almost done. The structure is basically in place. Phase 2 is going to take place very shortly. Phase 2 is concrete work that will be done. That's the new pad there, and also some electrical work. And I'm hoping by Memorial Day, the project will be done. We have a pre-con meeting next week on work on the new Voti Park basketball courts. That project should take a couple months to do, but you'll have a whole new basketball facility in Voti Park. We're almost completed with a major sanitary sewer line replacement on Julia Street. We anticipate work should be done by the end of this week. We have the Beverly Road Municipal Parking Lot, and that's by River Road. We're going to be redesigning that. That's going to be ready to go out to bid before the next council meeting. And that's, again, the parking lot at Beverly and River Road that's desperately in need of repair. And we're moving forward with the new prefab bathroom for North Voti Park. We're going to be putting it just south of Court Street. And we're going to use a co-op for the purchase that will have a three-station. It's a three-station facility, male, female, and a neutral bathroom. And we're also designing the Voti Park Shade and Shelter, and that's going to go out to bid very shortly, Mayor. That's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Shadini, do you have anything for the Township Attorney's report?
Nothing non-legal, but I do want to thank the council for having the resolution regarding the Armenian genocide. And I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Shadini. And the next order of business is our public hearing and adoption of ordinances. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the titles of the ordinances into the record? Four of them.
4 ordinances this evening. Mayor, Council, members of the public. We have ordinance number 18-2023, amending chapter 33 development regulations of the Township Code respecting cabarets. We have ordinance number 21-2023, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code, deleting restricted on-street parking spaces for the handicap at 179 Shepherd Ave. We have ordinance number 22-2023, amending section 36-11.2 of Division 1 of Article 2 of chapter 36 entitled Traffic of the Township Code, adding restricted on-street parking spaces for the handicap at 437 Glenwood Avenue along Fabry Terrace. Last but not least, we have ordinance number 23-2023, amending chapter 31A of the Township Code respecting vape businesses and cannabinoid products. That's all of them, Mayor.
Thank you. Procedurally, really quickly, can we pause for just a second? Because Dean wants to say something to our Youth Advisory Board members.
Yes,
and we know
and-
it's a school night and we don't want to keep you here late. So is that okay, Mr. Clerk? Mr. Manager, the floor is
Exactly.
yours.
My apologies. Can the YAB members come to the podium and just introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Olivia Vasquez.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Vitalman. I'm the Vice President of the Teaneck Youth Advisory Board.
My name's Jackson Harley.
Hi, my name's Zania McDonald. I'm the Secretary of the Youth Advisory Board.
Hi, my name is Kayla Beidelman.
Okay, thank you so much for being here tonight. Again, I wanted to recognize this great group of Teaneck students who helped us purchase these 5 AEDs. They had a vision back in December, and that was to make sure the township was equipped at all of our recreational facilities with these new AED devices. So they kind of lit a fire under me, and we were able to, based on them doing a quick presentation in December, to purchase 5 new AEDs. And as I mentioned at the beginning of my report, 2 were assigned to the various baseball organizations, Teaneck Southern and TBO, and the other 3 are housed at fire headquarters for use for all sports organizations. So I'm just proud that we have the youth here today, and again, allowing me the opportunity, reminding me of the importance of these new AED devices to ensure that our sports organizations have the proper safety equipment in place. God forbid it's needed. So I just want to personally thank you, and I apologize for not doing it at the beginning of the meeting, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate your vision, and I'm certainly going to look forward to working with Yaba and any other projects that you see fit. So, Mayor?
Thank you also so very much. And thank you for advocating for that, because defibrillators really do save lives. I was actually with the manager and Councilwoman Oregon and Deputy Mayor G when we passed out a couple of them this past weekend. So thank you so very much. And I think other members of council would like to say something. Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yeah, I'm so impressed by this youth advisory board, how active they are and how passionate you are. And keep up the great work. This was a really, really wonderful addition to our community.
I also want to echo the comments of my colleagues here. When I was your age, I wasn't doing half of the number of phenomenal things that you're doing. So give yourselves a round of applause. We are so proud of you. Thank you for the great work that you're contributing to our town. We are all better because of you. So thank you again.
Councilwoman Belcher.
I just want to chime in and say thank you for your leadership skills and your abilities in terms of showing what you can do and spearheading an initiative that's so important as this. And, you know, I'm really, think that you're special young people and that you have a lot of potential in terms of finding solutions to things. And that's exactly what you did here is finding solutions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Goldberg.
I just want to also echo my colleagues, and you guys should be very proud of yourself. And it takes a lot of courage to come up here and speak to the whole town effectively. So you guys should be very proud of yourselves. And I really hope that you guys continue to do this incredibly important work for your community. So thank you.
And lastly, can we all please give them one more round of applause? Thank you so much for advocating for that. And I'm sorry we kept you out so late tonight. Mr. Clerk, is it okay if we pick up where we left off? You read the ordinances into the record. Does anyone on council want to say anything about the ordinance before we open up the public hearing? Councilwoman Belcher?
2023. In terms of the actual fine amount, the fine amount associated with vaping, we've really established that for the most part as to, what that looks like in terms of if someone is found in violation of this particular ordinance.
Does Councilwoman Oregon or John remember the details of that?
So the first offense, I believe, goes to the judge, and the judge determines what the fine is. It starts, I think, at $100 and goes up, and I believe possible prison time. What this ordinance does is it puts a license on top of all these vape shops that have opened and that have had, they've been caught during stings once, twice, 3 times, and they keep going before the judge, but there's nothing as a municipality that we've been able to do. What this does by requiring them to get a license each year and requiring them to answer to the health department and submit to audits by the health department. Once they get that first offense, they go to the judge, they get the second offense, they have a hearing here in town, and they lose the license. And so they may be a smoke shop or a vape shop, but they can no longer sell the vape products and the cannabinoid products, which are not, it's not cannabis, it's Delta-9, and all those hemp products. They'll no longer be able to sell them here. So it gives us a little bit of teeth. There are children in town who go both to private and public schools who are walking into these vape shops, and underage, they're being sold these products, and it's not changing. So we've got a great health officer now. She's very strong, and she's willing to take this on. And I'm really proud of the work she did with this. We each got in our mailboxes today something from Tobacco Free for a Healthy New Jersey. We worked with them on this. We found out what ordinances other towns have passed. We took pieces from everything that we felt applied here, but it's a great ordinance.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was just thinking that even the fine was kind of low, yeah, but that's the maximum that by
It's-
statutory.
Yeah, we
Statutory,
we
yeah.
tried.
Mhm.
We can't
Okay,
make it higher.
It's minimum of 100. Doesn't say max. So it's minimum of 100.
Okay, so it could be,
It's in the discretion of the court at this
Mhm.
point. But I think the reason that the ordinance really works well is that ultimately the license holder has the right to appeal to the health officer if they think that what was done was not appropriate. And that decision ultimately can be appealed to the council. So ultimately, the council has the final say on what I think gives everybody a fair shake.
great, thank you.
And thank you, Karen, for working so hard on that. And thank you, staff. Deputy Mayor Katz.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to say, that thank you, Councilmember Organ and Tomasa, for working on this. A lot of times people go very extreme and they actually hurt the business community. But here what you did was you found like a middle ground where you didn't hurt the business community, but if they are not acting in good faith, and not just once, twice, then that's when you start taking action. So I really, I support this and I appreciate your hard work on this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Katz. Nobody else with any questions on this one or any others? No? Okay, the public hearing on these ordinances are now open. Mr. Clerk, any members of the public wishing to be heard on any of these ordinances or who wants to ask questions concerning these ordinances may please come forward and state their names for the record. Comments or questions shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Is there anyone in chambers who would like to speak on this? Mr. Rose?
Regarding the discussion on that ordinance, I'm not sure how many stores, I'm sorry, Howard Rose resident, Teaneck. Good evening, and taking Lillian Lewis's words formally, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, for working on this ordinance. I don't know how many of these shops are around right now. I think I've seen one on Cedar Lane. I go to my store, I don't walk up and down the lane all the time. I'm wondering, does this ordinance also contain a limitation in the number of licenses that will be granted? I think that's kind of an important factor. If you're talking about proliferation, limit it.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone on Zoom raising their hand?
Bringing in Maxine Angel.
Hi there. Sorry, I'm zooming in from my daughter's softball game for TBO. So a very exciting game. I just wanted to put in my support for the ordinance 23-2023. Thank you so much to the council, especially Councilwoman Organ, for working so hard on this. We have to keep our kids safe. We know this is a huge problem for all students, all the young people in Teaneck who have tremendous access to these addictive substances. So anything you can do to restrict it is welcome. The more the better. And Mr. Rose's comment is excellent as well. It's a great question I wanted to ask also. So thank you. And you have my full support. Blessings to you guys. Have a good evening. Be well. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Angel. Anyone else in chambers want to speak? No, Mr. Clerk, anyone on Zoom?
Bringing in Emma Harowitz.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Emma Horowitz, Teaneck resident. Good evening to everyone. Don't know why my camera won't turn on. I would like to speak also about ordinance 23 of 2023 and ask council to pass it tonight. I especially would like to speak in support of section 31A15, which requires any store selling electronic smoking devices, vape products, or cannabinoid products to obtain a license from the health department. And section 31A-17 sub A specifies various reasons why the license may be revoked or suspended, while sub B stipulates that the license holders who sell to anyone under 21 shall have their day in court, their hearing, and then receive mandatory revocation. This is a laudable and necessary step, and I applaud and thank Councilwoman Organ, as well as all those who have worked so hard on this extremely important and necessary legislation. As we know, there has been a proliferation of smoke shops. Unfortunately, there are many more than one in our town. They've been a dangerous and negative presence. And as was mentioned, the sting operations have proven that most of them sell vapes and cannabinoid products to teenagers, and some have done so repeatedly. Up till now, there's been no licensing procedure, so it's been very difficult to hold these bad actors accountable. If this legislation passes, it will finally be possible to stop this illegal behavior. And I also would like to see, as Mr. Rose mentioned, a cap to the number of licenses given out, as well as a steep licensing fee. I urge council to pass this ordinance, which is in the best interests of everyone in our township. And again, I thank those who have worked on it and everyone who is considering voting in favor of it. Thank you all and have a great night.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone else on Zoom?
I have Stephen Finkelstein in here. Please unmute whenever you're ready, Steve.
Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Rabbi Stephen Finkelstein, Associate Principal at Torah Academy, Bergen County on Queen Anne Road. I wanted to thank Councilwoman Organ for all of her efforts and the rest of the council. The opening of these vape shops has kind of made our messaging to our students and to the teens in general in Teaneck a little bit ambiguous, and anything that we can do to strengthen the enforcement of who these shops are selling to and what they're selling, and making sure that our teens are as safe as possible would be greatly appreciated. I know within walking distance of our school, there are 3 shops, one on Queen Anne Road, right off of State Street, and one on Teaneck Road in Amsterdam in the gas station, and one next to Dunkin' Donuts and Walgreens on State Street and Teaneck Road, all within a short walk of our school. And with all of the efforts that the township has made over the years to help keep our teens safe and keep the messaging clear, anything that we could do at this point would be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, is there anyone else on Zoom?
Yes, trying to bring in Victoria Fisher. Ms. Fisher. Ron, did I accidentally boot out one of our screens?
Ms. Fisher, are you there, ma'am?
I see you there. Ms. Fisher, whenever you are ready. Ms. Fisher, whenever you are ready.
Maybe we come back to her if there's another hand.
I don't see any other hands at this time, ma'am.
Is there anybody else in chambers who would like to speak? Going last. Ms. Fisher, are you there, ma'am?
She just dropped out. I don't see her in the attendees list. Might be having a tech issue. No other hands.
Did she go completely off?
Yeah, I can't find her. She's gone.
All right. Seeing no further hands. Mr. Clerk, I tell you.
Oh,
Seeing no
I was
further
just saying
hands,
she
this public
disappeared.
hearing
No, she
is-
disappeared. I was
This
just
public
doing a
hearing
motion.
is closed. Mr. Shadini, would you be able to answer Mr. Rose's questions before we open it up to other council members in case they want to make comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And it's a good question. The statute that regulates the sale of tobacco and vaping products doesn't allow the township to limit the number of licenses. We are allowed to license the sale of it, just like we are allowed to license the sale of other items that have regulations on them. The statute doesn't give you the right to limit the number of licenses in the town, not at this time. There is a movement to ban it permanently, but hasn't reached the status yet.
Thank you, Mr. Shadini. Karen,
Just to put it into perspective, you can go into 7-Eleven. We have 3 of those and you can buy them there. So it brings some control over them without quashing businesses that are selling legally. People have the right to use vape products, but they don't have the right to sell them to children. So this seemed like a way to get some control while still allowing our businesses to flourish here.
Deputy Mayor Katz?
Yeah, I was actually, I was gonna kind of say that this ordinance goes actually above just the vape shops. It's people that are selling as well. It gives a greater protection to all. So I applaud the Tomasa for working on this, and Councilman Organ.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Katz. Mr. Manager, you wanted to say something, sir?
Sure. I just wanted to mention, the police department does very aggressive with integrity checks of the 13 vape shops in town. And one of the recent things that they did, we found 6 in violation. 2 of those 6, this was their 3rd violation. So it's serious, and I'm glad, we're addressing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do we have a motion to approve all 4 ordinances? Is there a second? Mr. Clerk, we have a first and a second. Can you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes and all.
Councilwoman Organ,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes and all.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes on all.
Mayor Began.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, now that it's passed, can we ask the manager, can he send it out to all the stores that are selling vape, advising them of this new regulation?
Mr. Manager, can you please do that? That's cool.
Yes, we have the 20-day estoppel period, but I'll certainly prepare something.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Manager. The next order of business is good and welfare and public input. Any member of the public wishing to be heard at this time can please come forward and state their names for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person, and good and welfare will only be 60 minutes long tonight. Is there anyone in chambers who would like to speak? Ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Gwen Gout, and I'm thankful that I'm being able to actually speak to the council this evening. I want to share something very quickly, so I won't take up as much of your time. Again, I said my name is Dr. Gwen Gout. The reason I'm coming to you this evening is because I'm a Teaneck resident for the last 8 years. I've started a non-for-profit organization, Sisters in Service. And a lot of the things that you're talking about tonight are what we are looking to address. Sisters in Service, we're looking for a home base where we can help North Jersey. The Youth Advisory Committee, we were just talking about defibrillators and how we can have some workshops in the community to address how to address these issues. So Sisters in Service is an organization, you can read up on it. We want to look at the mental health. We want to look at suicide. We want to look at homelessness, everything that goes on in our society where we can help our youth, our elderly, as you talked about dementia and things of that nature. This is what Sisters in Service is about, giving back to the community, having a grassroots organization somewhere in the community to work with community-based organizations, the churches, the hospitals, in any capacity from 0 age all the way to the elderly. We're here to work with the council and everyone involved. So I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but we're looking for a grassroots home base where we can do workshops. We can have the community coming in. They can look at different things that we're going to do. We're going to do a concept of workshops, a series of workshops on all these various issues. And I would love for that youth advisory board to be a part of that, because our youth are our future. And they're going to be the leaders sitting where you're sitting and where I'm standing in the next 10 to 15 years. So that's our goal, is to work with the community. I am also a former Assistant Deputy Commissioner from the New York Department of Social Services. So I have a real vested interest in all the things that we deal with the bureaucracy and the various things that we have, the red tapes that we have to go through. But I want our youth to see all the opportunities. A lot of times they don't know what their opportunities are. We want to be able to give those opportunities to them, whether it's career, entrepreneurship, whether it's understanding the different things that they have to go through as independent young people growing up and becoming independent adults. So I thank you for your time. You can read up on this. And I thank Deputy Mayor Katz for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Gout. Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone in Zoom?
Yes, bringing in Victoria Fisher. Please unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Good evening. I'm calling, I'm wearing a number of hats, longtime resident, as a mother, as the chair of Tomasa, as a board member. I want to now applaud rather than urge you all to pass the ordinance regarding vaping. This is really important to our community, to all of us as parents, to us who are concerned about our students. The people who came before me spoke eloquently and made the point, so I won't belabor that, but I just want to express my gratitude, especially to Councilwoman Organ. I have served on Tomasa since I was 16 years old. And in the many years, I won't count how many, that I've served on that committee, Councilwoman Organ has been by far the most active member of council in terms of our liaison. On that committee, she's been an effective, vocal, and enthusiastic advocate to make sure that we are keeping our community safe and healthy. So I thank you, Councilwoman Organ, for championing this ordinance this evening. And I want to also recognize Courtney Sartain, our new health officer, who's been really great, and Alex Sorbonne, our social worker. I think this is a really great team, and I'm really excited to work with you all to shepherd some great policies and ordinances into Teaneck to keep our kids and community safe. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Is there anyone in chambers? Mr. Leon.
Jesse Leon, Teaneck resident. First, I want to thank Mayor Pagan, Deputy Mayor G, Councilwoman Goldberg for your continued voting support for chickens. Deputy Mayor Katz for your rhetorical support, although serendipity has robbed us of the opportunity for your vote. I want to vent my frustration. At the last meeting, you guys made sure that there are only 3 legal chickens in Teaneck, and their names are Belcher, Oregon, and Schwartz. And I don't mean to attack personally, but you've continued to impose a petty tyranny on all of the people who have come to you over and over and over again, seeking a reasonable way to bring a good hobby, a healthful hobby, a beneficial hobby into this town for the dozens of people who have asked for it, for the 5, 6, 7 families who will actually do it. We've been working really hard over 3 years to find a middle ground. I sat down with Health Officer Sartain, who was wonderful. I want to jump on the bandwagon of praising her tonight because she does really seem like she cares about this town and is going to do a great job for it. She sat down and we worked out all of the details of that ordinance. And it hurt to know that some of you hadn't even bothered to read it based on the comments that you made after voting against it. Councilman Morgan, you definitely did read it, and I appreciated your feedback, knowing that you read it and that you did approach it very honestly. I don't accept this as a result. You know, this is the second time that it's gone away on a 3-3 tie. I think that it needs to come before the entire board and we can actually get it voted on honestly. And I hope that you guys at the next meeting will reintroduce that ordinance with a full 7-member panel if all 7 of you are here, and we can get a real honest vote on it. And if not, we'll have to figure out what other arrows are in our quiver to actually make chickens a reality in Teaneck. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Mr. Clerk, anyone on Zoom?
Bringing in Hildy Dillon.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I wanted to talk about our town forums. As you all know, earlier this year, we had the first 2023 town forum on cannabis, and we have an upcoming town forum on May 2nd focused on development. And I would like to make a couple of suggestions to the council based on the experience of our first town forum. One is to state or publish the specific goals and objectives of the May 2nd, the upcoming forum, and any future town forums. Inform the residents on how you plan to structure the meeting to be certain the goals and objectives of the meeting are met in the time allowed. And if one of the main goals of a town forum is to educate township residents, please include experts that represent both pros and cons for the topic of focus of the town hall. Perhaps have residents submit questions and concerns in advance to be certain the panel is instructed to address the most prevalent questions or concerns in their presentations, and limit their presentations so we can provide ample time for residents to ask questions and receive answers from the council or the expert panelists. It might also help to invite leaders from other townships, nearby townships that may have recent experience in resolving differences on similar topics. For example, for our upcoming, maybe those that are post AINR development and what their experience has been. How will our in-person and online attendees been engaged and heard, and a productive dialogue be ensured? Consider the use of a neutral professional moderator to facilitate balanced, brief panel presentations and questions and answers from the participants. We also, this is real, I'm speaking on my own behalf here, is to state or publish a defined timeframe in which you will summarize the town hall and articulate next steps. We're all very busy people, which is good. We respect the time you devote as council members, and please respect us as concerned township residents. Together, we're balancing demanding work schedules, family life, maintaining our homes, engaging in school and other volunteer activities, in addition to spending time and sharing our expertise to improve Teaneck. If we're to have town halls, please do your best to make them productive with clear goals and objectives, next steps, and an overall good use of our valuable time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone in chambers, sir?
How you doing? My name is Sean Perry. I'm coming to you guys because I wanted to speak to you guys on the little issue in regards to the smoke shop and so on and so forth. And one of the reasons why the business and the company that I run is so imperatively needed within your community. Granted, your police officers believe that my company is criminal, but needless to say is that we make sure that companies such as smoke shops are making sure that we're regulating them so they don't take advantage of young teens and the children around in society. So I'm just saying, businesses like my company, Bad for Business, this lady company over here and what she's doing, we're here to mandate and make sure that things are happening in a proper way. Not only that, when situations like we set up our fines and our charges and so on and so forth, fees to businesses, local companies around, that money not only helps out, my company, but it also helps out the city. Not only is it helping out the city because a small portion goes back into the city, it also helps out the community to help develop the community more. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. I just wanted to throw that little tidbit in there. Best of luck, Teaneck.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Clerk, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Trying to bring in Karan G.
Mr. G, are you there, sir?
I'm here. Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Kawan G, Teaneck resident. Tonight, I'm calling on behalf of the Teaneck Juneteenth Committee as one of the co-chairs, along with Celine Wong and Tama Harris. I just wanted to notify and invite council as well as the community to some exciting events that we have planned during the month of June to celebrate Juneteenth. The first is a series of events that involve a partnership with the library called 19 Days Till Juneteenth. Basically, each day there'll be a feature. We'll feature a Teaneck resident that will be reading a culturally relevant children's book that will get posted on the library website. And then on Saturday, June 17th, we're excited to announce the continuation of our, I believe it's the 3rd annual Juneteenth Silent Walk. We submitted the special event application and we're just waiting on the final approval from the township. But this year we plan to make it a little bit bigger. We're going to start at the MLK Monument and then proceed down River Road to the slave burial ground. There are going to be drummers, violinists, and prayers as usual. And finally, we want to culminate our month-long celebration with the continuation of the community Juneteenth flag raising on June 19th. So we're just really excited about everything that we have planned this year. And we can't wait to celebrate with all of you. Hopefully, some of the council members can make it out to a few of the events or even consider reading one of the Juneteenth children's books for the library series. But if you have any questions, you can email us at juneteenth@gmail.com. Also, really quickly before I go, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our township manager, Dean, our YAB liaison, Ellie Katz, and the members of the Youth Advisory Board for a job well done on getting that AED equipment for the various sports leagues. I was at Teaneck Southern opening day over the weekend, and when the AEDs were presented, and it was just fantastic. So thank you all for that. Also, finally, real quick, Doug, I know I told you this already, but I just wanted to say on the record that I'm loving the new meeting format that you guys have for the folks watching on TV and on Zoom. It's such a much better presentation. So great job on that. And with that, I will say good night, everybody. Hey, Danielle.
Thank you, sir. And please don't forget to thank our volunteer cablecaster, Mr. Ron Goodman, with all the bells and whistles on our streaming. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Mr. G, and thank you, Ron, as always. Anyone in chambers? Mr. Sohn.
Alan Sohn, Teaneck resident. We've often heard that budgets are about priority, and they should be. And one of the priorities, in addition to keeping tax stable, should be keeping taxes and budgets sustainable. Unfortunately, for the past few years, what we've seen far too often are gimmicks, putting things into debt, pushing things off, not paying for things, not hiring workers, not purchasing. One of my priorities as both before, during, and after my service on council has been watching that. And I've looked at this budget. I've looked also at the changes that are listed as budget revisions that was provided by the township manager and posted to the township website. I looked at page 59 of the budget packet, sheet 10 of the FCOA format budget. And there are a couple of items that jump out. Again, the use of ARP funds, and something that really has baffled me, the liquidation of reserve for due from general capital fund for $950,000, which is something that I don't fully understand and hope that we can get an explanation. One of the questions, again, it's always wonderful to find a new gimmick that we haven't thought of in previous years, but the question is, what do we do next year? What happens when the ARP funds run out? Is there more money in this reserve for due from general capital fund that can be used next year in subsidy? The budget we heard this year was going to be as much as 7 or 8%. It's down to about 3.49%. But it looks like next year is going to be that much more challenging. It could be 8%, it could be 10%, it could be 12%. And I think the big question that I have is that the sources of what could be used to fill in the hole, the gimmicks that could be used seem to be running out. There are only so many magic beans that could be pulled out from the couch cushions, from underneath the table, from the pot of gold. If only this was infinitely replenishable, it would be wonderful, but it's not. And I hope that we can get an explanation of how we got to this budget, how we got down to 3.49, where this money is coming from. Is it reproducible? Can this be done next year in 24? Can it be done in 25 or 26? Where will we be in the subsequent budget? And again, as part of that priority of showing what a budget is about, it really does us due course, not only to list what those changes are, but to show how we got there and where this leaves us next. I do hope that whatever process is done for this budget, that we're looking at further details in this budget, and that I hope the budget subcommittee won't stop once this budget is approved, but we'll keep on working. We'll start working not only on this budget and continuing to look at this budget, but to plan for the 24 budget, not in October, November, December, or next January, but now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sohn. Mr. Clerk, do we have someone on Zoom?
Bringing in Keith Kaplan.
Hello. Hi, Council. I agree with Mr. Sohn on one point. Budgets are about our priorities. One of the things that Council had focused on in the last couple of years was our parks. We took advice from the Parks Playground Recreation Advisory Board on where to try modular bathrooms. They wound up picking Phelps Park, which was convenient for me because I live close by, and it gets wonderful use. It's nothing fancy, but it does the job. People are thrilled that it's there. I see our officers, police officers come by. They not only lock it up and open it, but they use it. People are using it day in, day out. The sports, the dog park, everything is there. The last meeting, the Northeast Teaneck Block President Association put in a letter asking about bathrooms in Brooks Park. I want to amplify that and ask, where are the bathrooms in all of our parks? We identified a county co-op that was able to do this, so we wouldn't even have to go and bid it out. They already did the bidding. We have the Municipal Open Space Trust Fund bringing in $500,000 plus every year. It costs far less than that to get one or two of these done each and every year. Where are the priorities, which wouldn't even cost extra money, to direct some of those most funds so that we can have bathrooms in all our parks? The other issue I wanted to bring up was the state of our statutory boards. When elections were moved to November, the council moved all of the advisory boards to coincide with that November date. They used to end in June, now they end in November. The Shade Tree Advisory Board, the Parks Planning and Recreation Advisory Board, the Youth Advisory, all moved to November. But when it comes to the statutory boards, the people that have volunteered to take slings and arrows, denying and approving applications, doing a lot of hard work, they were told, no, not you guys. You're going to expire in June, and that's it. What is the rationale for extending the advisory boards, the council, everybody, except those? I would certainly hope it doesn't have to do with who's particularly up this year, but I have yet to hear any single cogent rationale for why these people who volunteer, who give of their time, their effort, and give to their community shouldn't be given the same dignity that everybody else was given in extending their terms to coincide with the new end date. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan. Mr. Rose, I think I saw your hand go up, sir.
Howard Rose, resident Teaneck. A couple of things. First of all, when it comes to this bathroom drama information, bathroom in every park, what happened to that? Well, seems like the old council consolidated all of them into a pottyplex. That's unfortunate. Imagine what could have happened in each of the parks had not all of that funding, several $1 million, gone to one pottyplex. Goodness gracious. Now to real business. Alan Stone and others have in the past requested that when budgets are done, that there be a several-year span of projections. So you see the valleys, the peaks, what's going on. How do you make it so it's a level plane more so than you would if you just do a yearly budget analysis and projection? I think there's a lot of need for that kind of a visual so we know where we're going, how we're going, why we're going, where we're spending money, when we're spending money. I know it's only money, but it's pretty important nevertheless. Forums. Forums are supposed to be for information. And we've had a lot of suggestions how to present a forum a little earlier during good and welfare. In a sense, a forum should not be on this topic as a sales pitch. We had a huge percentage of the time at the last forum regarding that, sales pitches from different vendors. I don't think that's what people were looking for. They were looking to understand where, how, when, and the impact on our township specifically. Part of the problem, I think, is the request was made for several different things to happen. A professional moderator, we talk about this, we talk about that, we get answers on this, we do. Once you start to have too many areas of concern being projected into a forum of an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it dilutes everything you're talking about. I think you have to have it not just a program of what you're going to do and try and accomplish, but have it narrow enough and focused enough that you can have a deeper level of impact in the information that you're presenting on that topic. Otherwise, it seems to me to be a waste of time. It's just so varied and so differentiated that it's like watered down coffee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. Mr. Clerk, anyone on Zoom?
Bringing in Margaret Baker.
Ms. Baker, are you there, ma'am?
She's trying 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, I'm back again. And I'm back with the same concerns and questions I have been bringing to the council for the past 2 years, nearly. It'll be 2 years in June, concerning the apartment building that's going up on Decatur and Alfred Avenue, which, by the way, is in my front door. I've gone to council meetings I expressed my concerns. I asked questions and I got nothing, no response. The planning board was the same thing. You gave me 3 minutes to speak. You heard me and you didn't respond. Why is it you can't talk to me? Do you think it makes sense for you to want to put up a building in my front door and you're not going to hear my mouth? That's not happening. I went to the meetings and I expressed myself. I asked questions, and the previous council, the majority, you sat there with your mouths closed. While I wish the residents in Teaneck would take a look, come out here to Decatur and see the monster of a building that's going up in what was, or half of it was, residential. You took a house down to put up this building. You destroyed this neighborhood. And if that building goes up as planned, you have created urban Teaneck. It's not suburban anymore. Not with what's going on out here. So I really wish you'd get your act together and be able to answer my questions, the questions of the neighbors out here. We are human beings. You can talk about chickens and everything else, but you can't respond to the residents out here. Why? Please answer me that. Why?
Thank you, Ms.
We're
Baker.
residents and we deserve
Thank you, Ms.
answers.
Baker. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Yuck?
How do you do, everybody? Philly Yuck, Bell Avenue. So listening to Mrs. Baker, I couldn't help but get up here to speak because I feel for the people there. We're facing the same problem on Bell Avenue with the settlement agreement with Stop and Shop. I actually had only been to Alfred Avenue in the 44 years I live here. I'd only been there twice. But I decided a couple of weeks ago, I took Chris Brown on a tour of the town to show him some things that he was unaware of. And I drove by Alfred Avenue, and quite frankly, it was shocking. We don't want that on Bell Avenue, Beverly Road. I know the people on the other side of town, the other side of Cedar Lane, do not want this kind of development. Absolutely not. We will fight tooth and nail. I'm just letting you know. We will fight tooth and nail, whatever it takes to prevent that from happening in our neighborhood. It's wrong. It was a terrible agreement. I wish we had known about all the goings on beforehand. Something's got to be done to change that whole situation. I don't know what it is, but I do know that the Supreme Court knocked down an AINR in West Orange. And if we have to go that route, we will go that route. I've spoken to my neighbors. I've spoken to other people in town. We will fight to prevent that from ever happening in Teaneck. Just like we fought back in the 80s with Loretta Weinberg to stop the development of the Stop and Shop site at that time. So I just want to let you all know that that's where we stand. You know where we stand with the flooding. We need that tank in Sagamore Park ASAP, not 2 years from now, not to wait for years to get that in. The rains are going to come and we're going to get flooded again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yuck. Mr. Clerk, anyone on Zoom?
Bringing in Roberta.
Hi, Roberta Pickett. I'm Teaneck resident, I just wanted to echo Hildy Dillon's earlier comments regarding the town forums. Ideally, the forums should educate residents on both sides of the issue in question, and I think that means having spokespersons for both sides, maybe a neutral moderator to facilitate the discussion. There should also be clear goals, and the next step should be made evident as soon as possible so that people who participate in those forums feel that their time is being used wisely, that something is going to come of the forums, not just there to give people a chance to vent with no actual positive effect. That was the original reason I was gonna, I raised my hand to speak. I also, after hearing Ms. Baker's impassioned plea and the frustration in her voice, it just makes me so angry about these INRs, and I just want to voice my support that we can't have this continue. I also live in an area, I live in Southwest Teaneck, where we're affected by the Stop and Shop settlement, and I just think this has to stop. It's very upsetting, and I could hear her frustration and anger, and I want to just reiterate what she said. It sounds like she's been waiting a long time for an answer, and I'd love to hear some of those answers too. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
Good evening. My name is Reverend Dr. Dennis Parham. I'm a longtime Teaneck resident, and I'm here also in support of Sisters in Service. One of the things I heard tonight is that you gentlemen, ladies, may need a conduit for representation. One of the things the Sisters in Service is going to do is to provide a voice for seniors, elderly, and folks with dementia. We also want to let people know I'm an octogenarian, and we can still perform. The point that I'm getting at is that we have wasted resources in our community, and we put people aside because of their age. There's wisdom in what they do. We would like to take that information and share that information with our youth. They didn't get to be that old by not being intelligent enough to understand life and needs. And lastly, I'd like to thank you for the thankless job that you perform. It is thankless, and I understand it. I was the Director of Economic Development for the city of New York, and often we do a lot behind the scenes that people do not see, and our accomplishments is not recorded. So I applaud you, and I thank you for you.
Thank you, Reverend. Mr. Clerk, anyone on Zoom? No?
Dr. Cars, I'd like to begin by thanking the council and the administration for the excellent way in which you decided that you should competitively figure out who your professional should be. And it turns out that when you actually put out bids, you actually get a whole lot of pretty good people applying. I don't know what they asked for or exactly where they want to go, but getting 16 firms who want to do part of our legal services and 5 that want to take a look at our engineering is a huge achievement. And the council working with the administration did that extremely well. I also think that you're doing these AEDs in support of the YAB is a huge success. I want to really urge that before anybody in this town goes to that forum at the Rota Center on May 2, that they actually drive over, go down Decatur and take a left on Alfred. And then imagine if you lived where Mrs. Baker lived. And we're seeing these huge things going up all over them. I have another 2 minutes, right? Thank you. Can you stop it for a minute? I was interrupted. You can't believe the cranes that are swinging over her house every time there's any wind comes up. And she, who used to have a view of the Palisade from her wonderful house there on Decatur, is going to not be able to even see the sun until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when that 6-story building that you approved and then gave the developer a huge benefit with our tax money. You've got to figure out how not to take away a residential neighborhood in the way in which that was done ever again. One final thing. You're doing an introduction of budget. It is enormously important that the public be able to understand and that you be able to understand what's actually there. I don't think you do. And Mr. Sohn was excellent in pointing out there are some things you need to explain to us. What in the world is liquidation of the capital reserve? What does that mean? You have 12 items listed in that little spreadsheet. I didn't understand half of them, and I've spent a lot of the last few years, you know, trying to understand your budgets. What's going on? You can find out if you actually had a user-friendly budget available tonight, because it would in fact tell you, be required to tell you, what the prognosis is for what 2024 is going to be because of all the money we spent on ARP by 21, 22, and 23. It is exceedingly important that the user-friendly budget not be something that shows up after we approve a budget, but so that the public and you can understand exactly what's going on before you actually introduce a budget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Mr. Clerk, still no hands on Zoom? And I think everybody in chambers spoke except for one resident who is not raising his hand. So good and welfare is closed. Who would like to speak first? Anyone on council want to respond?
I'll start it off here. First of all, I want to thank all my neighbors for speaking, coming out and speaking on Zoom. Thank you for your comments. They're well heard. I want to just start by thanking Dr. Goud and for your sisters in service. Just reading the information seems very important organization. Thank you for wanting to serve the community, because there's so many the ways in which we can. There's always a cause. And certainly there are people that in our community we can connect you with. I also want to thank those that kind of spoke up about a few things. I wanted to speak about May 2nd, the actual development town hall meeting that's coming up. We did learn a lot from the first. We learned that we want full participation, so therefore it will be a hybrid format. So people can Zoom in as well as come in person. We encourage you to come in person though, because I think there's something to be said about being present. It will be at the large gym at the Arata Center. It also, there will be, and this is real important. I mean, we're not fooling ourselves. In 2.5 hours or even 3 hours, if we go long, we know we cannot cover all of the issues surrounding development. We know that we're not, fooling ourselves. We know we have inherited a lot of things. We can hear it from people like Mrs. Baker. We can hear it from the citizens groups that come out, from all the things that we see that's happening in our land use areas within our township. So we are concerned in the 103 days that the three of us have been sitting here. We are concerned about what concerns our community. That is why we're attempting this. Okay. But we're really aware of the fact that the forum is to some degree going to be informational. We are going to have subject matter experts that will speak. We also want to address the question of who we are. When we hear about the development, who are we and who do we want to be as a township? So we are addressing things like that, but we are fully aware that some of these things are going to be captured in a survey. Some things also will be captured after the forum, meaning informational session, work sessions, looking at the master plan. We're not talking about the master plan like I believe we want to. So we want to look at certain things. So we have high hopes for May 2nd. We encourage you to take the survey. The survey will be out next week. Our township clerk is also going to be providing an email where people can send your questions in advance. Feel free to do that. And even comments that you have. And I did take Hildy Dillon's comment down. Also quite a few other people that have mentioned a few things. I understand goals and objectives are important, and we have fully established that. Thank you for Ms. Baker. Thank you for Phil Yuck for your comments tonight. I think they're very important. Development is so vitally important to our township right now. We do want to get it right. So certainly do come out May 2nd and do participate in the survey. Mr. Leon, I am a daughter of a farmer, someone who grew up on a farm. I know a little bit about chickens. I want to let you to know that I did sit down and comprehensively speak with a health official. I sat through and listened to her presentation. I do have some concerns. I'm also willing to keep an open mind. That's all I'm going to say. And I'd be willing to talk with you further about it. But right now, I feel things like code enforcement, the fact that she says she's down 2 individuals in terms of follow-up, in terms of issues with just chickens in general. So, but I certainly will keep an open mind. Lastly, I just want to thank the Juneteenth committee. I've been asked to read a children's book, and I'm super excited about that. Lastly, I want to thank the fire department for your efforts in putting out the brush fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belcher. Mr. Katz?
So I just want to thank Dr. Gout for coming today. I'm very impressed with what I read. I'm very impressed with when we spoke, what all the services that you're willing to provide. If it's okay with council, if we can ask maybe the manager to meet with Dr. Gout, at minimum, he can educate her on the Rhoda Center room rentals for nonprofits. So she can hold whatever community organization, maybe also introduce her to our social services director to provide this as a resource. And see where else that could lead. But these are really great causes that you're working with. And also, I'd like to also mention Mr. G called in and thanked me for his work, for the work on the Youth Advisory Board. I want to tell you that I correspond with him quite regularly. He is so active, and I'm so amazed how much he puts into the Youth Advisory Board. So I personally want to thank him for that as well.
Good.
I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Ms. Goldberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just want to thank the fire department, Chief Burchell, Township Manager, TVAC, Teaneck Police, and our surrounding towns for their help with the fire last week. That was incredible. Thank you for everyone that came out to speak this evening. Dr. Gout, I want to thank you for coming out and speaking to us. I look forward to learning more about your organizations. Women's issues are particularly important to me, and I look forward to reading more about it. Ms. Baker, I am always happy to come out and speak with you and your neighbors, and I will give you a call this week and set something up. As Councilwoman Belcher pointed out, the development forum is intended to educate people and get feedback about development. So getting that input is going to be what this forum is about. Budgets are about priorities. And as Mr. Sohn pointed out, the budget being introduced is at 3.49%. And I do concur with Mr. Sohn regarding the $2.1 million single line item. That's 4 tax points that we will not have next year. I will be asking the manager, the CFO, the auditor, the budget subcommittee, and everyone on this dais to start working now on 2024 to hopefully lower that anticipated 11% next year. Just to say that we will worry about it next year is not responsible, especially for seniors on a fixed income. And I cannot speak for why the prior council did not move both the advisory boards and statutory boards to coincide with the elections, but this council chose to begin with the advisory boards, and I look forward to moving those terms for the statutory boards in the summer. Every resident deserves a seat at every table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Ms. Horgan?
So I'd like to speak to Jesse. I feel like we've been on a journey together these past couple of years. And I appreciate you coming to meetings, usually with grace and often with humor and a lot of information. And I've said from day one, while I will not be in favor of chickens because they live outdoors and they don't just affect the people who own the chickens, but they have consequence for the neighbors. I have appreciated the way that you have presented this all along. This past ordinance, like I said, my husband and I were sitting in our backyard, often over Passover, drinking wine and trying to figure out, even if we wanted chickens with the 3 square feet and the 25 feet from the door, we couldn't have them in our yard. And I think that applies to a lot of people here with this particular ordinance. And so while I don't think I'll be changing my vote, I'm happy to sit down and discuss that with you. Also, again, the part about them running around the backyard and it being enclosed, we have a white fence. But if we had a chain link fence, I would imagine the neighbors would be seeing that. And those were really the reasons why I didn't like this version of the ordinance. I know you've spent a lot of time and gone through many. I do agree 100% that the health officer that we have now is so capable. She can handle chickens, she can handle cannabis, she can handle cannabinoids. And kudos to her with all the work that she does in the department that she leads. And also, as Ms. Fisher mentioned, Alex Sorbonne, we have a social worker in town for anybody that needs help. He can help any age. And then I just want to welcome Dr. Galt and Reverend Dr. Parham to our meetings. I hope you'll come often. You're a pleasure to have here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Deputy Mayor G.
Sure. First, I just want to acknowledge that it's Autism Awareness Month this week, this month, and then at Bryant School, they're celebrating it all week. As someone who has a close relative on the autism spectrum, I'm especially appreciative of this time to celebrate, increase awareness and understanding and acceptance of people with autism. Also wanted to wish our Muslim brothers and sisters Eid Mubarak for those celebrating the end of Ramadan this week. And then just to respond to the comments here today, Dr. Gwen Gout, thank you so much for sharing with us about your organization. I think there are so many opportunities for partnership and collaboration. So please continue having those conversations, meeting with the folks, both Deputy Mayor Katz suggested and others. So look forward to that. Chickens. I called it 2 weeks ago and I said, maybe we should table this because I was concerned it would be 3-3. So hopefully we can come up with another iteration of this ordinance that we can get 4 votes to support. But I am in support of the ordinance that as it was written. Hildy Dillon, Roberta Pickett, thank you so much for your recommendations. I think they were really good ones. We also learned a lot from the previous town hall, and we certainly want to take that feedback into account this next go around. Kawan G in the Juneteenth committee, I'm happy to raise my hand to volunteer to read a children's book. I'm sure Mr. G has probably already signed me up. And I will definitely be taking part in the annual silent walk. I've done it the last 2 years. It's an awesome event. It's very meaningful. I bring the children every year. I encourage those who can attend to also participate, and I will definitely be at the flag raising as well. Thank you, Alan Sohn, Chuck Powers, and all who made comments on the budget. I think these are really, really important comments. I too think that we need to start looking at out-year planning and being as transparent as we can with the public about what out-years look like. And finally, Margaret Baker, I just want to say thank you for consistently coming out and sharing during these forums. It's so important for citizens to advocate for themselves. I was not a part of the council that participated in the Alfred Avenue building and that negotiation process, but I hear your concerns. We are trying again with this forum to change the way that we engage with the community as we consider new development. So thank you for continuing to advocate yourself, speak up. We hear you. We certainly want to do a better job in terms of how we engage with the community as we consider new development. And that goes out to you too, Phil. I hope you know that we're listening and that we're trying to engage and be better partners. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Dr. Gout and Reverend Parham, that's myself. Please give me a call at your convenience so we can see what we can figure out, see what's possible. Ms. Fisher, thank you for your support of the vaping ordinance because I agree with you and Karen on how important this is to protecting our children in town. Mr. Leon, I understand your frustration and I am sorry because I've been supporting the chicken ordinance since we first met and I will continue to do so going forward. Mr. G, thank you for inviting us to the Juneteenth events, and I will be there to join you, sir. Mr. Sullivan and Mr. Rose, thank you for your comments about the budget, because I agree that budgets should be worked on all year long, and that is something we are going to do going forward. And lastly, Mr. Manager, is there anything you would like to say, sir?
Just quickly, the user-friendly budget is not required until we go to adoption with the budget. That's going to take a little time. We have been doing projections, as the budget subcommittee knows. We have 3-year projections. It's still a work in progress, but we're working on that, and we'll continue to work on that. With the bathrooms, again, over the last 2 years, we've funded 3 prefab bathrooms. There'll be a 4th upon passing of the capital budget. That's at Phelps Park. So we are moving forward. As everyone knows, I have a 6-year plan and capital for parks, and we're going to renovate a new park every year in its entirety, and that includes a prefab bathroom. So that's no secret. So again, with the passing of capital, that'll be 4 prefab bathrooms over the last 2 to 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. The next order of business is our introduction of ordinances. Mr. Clerk, I think there's only one ordinance. Can you please read that into the record, sir?
One ordinance to be introduced this evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. Ordinance number 24-2023 to exceed the municipal budget cost of living allowance and to establish a cap bank pursuant to New Jersey State Statute annotated Title 40A, Section 45.14.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Does anyone on council want to speak on this before we ask for a motion to approve? No? Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor,
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, Mr. Abbasi, Mr. CFO, is that you, sir?
yes, that's me, Mayor.
Did you want to say something, sir?
Yeah, I just wanted to prime the council for the ordinance, and if you'd also allow me to, I wanted to answer some questions that the audience has posed about the budget. I do believe
please feel free, sir. The floor
transparent
is
process.
yours.
Sure. So just the first for the new council members, I don't want to scare anyone, so I don't want to lay things out. The cap bank ordinance, basically, the budget has 2 caps. One is the appropriations cap, how much we can spend. Legally, that goes up 2.5% every year by law. The cap bank allows you to add 1% more. This bank is not a physical bank. There's no physical cash tied to this ordinance. It's numbers on a piece of paper that if for whatever purposes next year or the year after, because you're allowed to bank it for 2 years, you are allowed to, if you've maxed out your budget on the spending side, increase it by your cap bank. For example, last year we adopted the budget, and the manager and myself found out in July through an email chain that, hey, state health benefits may be going up 20+% next year. If something like that were to happen in some other area in the budget, the cap bank allows the council to then use money that it didn't spend in the prior 2 years. Simply put, I have an analogy. It's essentially like a home equity line of credit. If you don't use it, you don't lose out on anything except that line of credit. It just essentially is forfeited. So we're not adding more money to the budget with this. This is a stop safe measure for the future. It's something every CFO and auditor would recommend and advise the council to move forward in introducing and adopting. With that being said, if you'd allow me now, I have some budgetary items I want to go over based on the questions posed by members of the public. So the 2023 budget retains all township services with no disruptions. There were no operational cuts or cuts to salaries and wages, which makes our headcount remain steady. The increase will be approximately $145.64 annually, or $12.13 on the average home, assessed at $390,700. The document on the website was developed by myself, the manager, and the auditor. What we did was we took the original municipal tax levy as presented by the manager back on March 9th, I believe it was. And we showed the adjustments to the budget to arrive at 3.49% increase on the tax rate. And what we were able to do through our toolkit was, and again, the budget is a living, breathing document. We do have a bond sale on Thursday. And so that's why this did take some deliberative effort on our part to put this together and get it up on the website. There were changes being made as late as last Thursday on this. The budget is being increased in several categories and decreased in others. So for example, we are increasing the appropriation on note principal for this year. We are increasing or rather decreasing state aid revenue. And we are reducing our ARP revenue by 950,000. We are able to reduce the ARP revenue by 950,000 to put us in a better position for next year. So we're not using the 2.1 million in full this year. And we are able to do that by liquidating the reserve from the capital fund. Now, simply put, what happens is when the budget is approved, for example, the manager and I, since 2019, we've been budgeting as the council $300,000 in the budget for tax appeal reserves. This is akin to that. When that money isn't touched, the auditor and myself move it to a reserve, and that reserve gets built up. So when we went to the local finance board in 2021 about Glen Point, and they asked us point blank, do you have a reserve set up for this, or essentially money set aside, we were able to answer in the affirmative. And we did utilize $500,000 of that reserve last year. To answer Mr. Sohn's question, yes, this is a one-off revenue item that will not be present next year. The good news is, by utilizing this liquidation of a reserve, essentially taking from a sinking fund that we've built up, we are able to still keep the ARP money in the budget to utilize next year. We also had, we were able to reduce construction code revenues, reduce our delinquent tax revenue, our hotel revenue, and put an additional appropriation of $15,000 in the advisory board line item, bringing their total appropriation to $20,000. We were able to also, because of an adjustment in our levy calculation, which included the library's levy onto the municipal levy, put money back into surplus. So if anything, this 3.49% is very responsible, and it puts us in a much, much better position for next year.
Thank you, Mr. Abbasi.
I'm more than happy to take any questions, by the way.
Does anyone on council have any questions? No, I think we're good to go, Mr. Abbasi and Mr. Clerk. Mr. Abbasi just wrapped up his comments, and if I recall correctly, there was a first and a second to introduce the ordinance. Can you please call the roll when you get a chance, sir?
Was there a first and second? Can you remind me who
There
that
was, who made the first? Karen?
Oregon and Goldberg. Councilwoman Belcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oregon?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz?
No to the cap bank.
Deputy Mayor G?
Yes.
Mayor Pagan?
Yes.
Introduced. We'll see you at next meeting.
All righty. The next order of business is the introduction of the 2023 municipal budget. Is there a motion to, you have a comment, Deputy Mayor? Of course you can.
I want to say that I'm not going to be voting on supporting the budget, but I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it for grandstanding or for headline or anything like that. I really genuinely believe that the staff and the CFO and the council subcommittee, budget subcommittee, worked very hard to put together a great budget, as our CFO mentioned. Just philosophically, I really want to keep my stance at a zero. I understand I don't have the support, but I'm not doing it, like I said, for any dig my heels on the ground. So I'm not going to be supporting the budget just because of that position. And I even want to mention that I sat down with Deputy Mayor G, who reached out to me to specifically go through even additional items to see how we can try to reduce the budget. So,
all right.
Thank you for letting us know, sir. Does anyone else want to make a comment?
Yeah. I also want to thank the manager and the CFO and the auditor and the budget subcommittee for all of their hard work. I understand that there were a lot of things that came up this year that haven't in the past, the state health benefits and the increase from the JIF. And I think it was a great job keeping this at an affordable rate, although we had to increase this year. I am going to vote yes on the budget. I do have an issue, and I've spoken to everyone, with the additional ladder truck that's in capital. But I'm happy to address that when we bond for it later on. I want to give my support to the budget. And so even though that's in there, I'm happily going to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is Councilwoman Belcher?
I just want to make a comment that I think that the approach of budgeting, I think, is a all year event. And I think that as we approach looking at why things are falling out the way they are going to happen the way they are, I think we have to be mindful of the fact that it's not just a once a year event, but we are constantly looking at ways in which we can add value to our community and that we can save our residents money. And that's an all year event.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there a motion to approve the introduction?
Motion to introduce.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, when you get a chance, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oregon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
No.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes. That passes, Mr. Clerk. The next order of business is the introduction of the 2023 Cedar Lane Improvement District Improvement Budget. Does anyone on council want to say anything before we vote?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Katz.
I just want to point out to the residents that this is not our budget. We just vote on it, but it's, I think it's Councilmember Schwartz, that's the liaison, right? And so I just wanted to make it clear that that even though we're voting on it, it's really all done through and paid for by the merchants on Cedar Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Does anyone else want to make a comment before we vote? No? Seeing no hands, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion.
And a second? That's Karen and Denise. Please call the roll when you get a chance.
Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oregon,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes.
Mayor Pagan.
Yes.
Yes, by all.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Mr. Clerk, the next order of business is the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If any discussion is desired by council, that particular item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the amount of the bill list into the record?
Absolutely, Mayor Pagan. I also just wanted to make a quick note, though, about our budget resolution. I'm sure that you all already know this, but I'm just clarifying. We're not going to see that resolution next meeting. That will be at the following meeting. Just wanted to clarify that with everybody. Yes, the consent agenda, 2 sets of minutes, resolutions 116 through 127-2023, and the bill list in the amount of $21,267,000, $21,267,216.27. Apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Mayor, just
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Katz.
on resolution 1192023, what is the exact address? I see the block and lot.
This is A&S Comics on Cedar Lane. Whenever a sign encroaches onto the public right of way, it
I'm aware,
requires
yeah, it's
council
pro
action.
forma. I just wanted to get the address.
All righty, seeing no further questions, we had a first and a second. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilwoman Belcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Goldberg,
Don't kill me. Hold on. Okay, so yes, except on the bills list. I need to recuse on the Trank Isabel invoice 4548, as it's the bill pertaining to Wayne's Puppies litigation, which I'm a co-defendant.
4548.
Yes, just that bill, full round recusal, because I'm a co-defendant on that matter, and abstaining on both Kelly and Murata invoices. And yes, on everything else.
Those are two invoices.
Yes, so abstain on the two Kelly and recusal on
That's it.
Frank Isabel 4548 because of Wayne's puppies.
Would you happen to have those, the other numbers in front of you right now? If you don't, it's no big deal. I
Not
can
in
find
front
them
of me,
later.
but
All right. No, don't sweat it.
send it.
Yeah, I'll find it. Don't worry
Thank
about it.
you.
Control F.
Thank you.
That was Councilwoman Goldberg, Councilwoman Organ, Deputy Mayor Katz,
Yes, with an abstention on the bills.
Deputy Mayor G,
Yes.
Mayor Began.
Yes.
Approved.
All right, it passes. And that concludes our business for the evening. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight in chambers and on Zoom. We hope you have a good evening. Thank you.
Right. I didn't think you were I love that.
Pizza for. I think it's.